Here we see a pristine garden with every plant precisely where it needs to be. No weed or pest has infiltrated and... No, that's silly. If you garden like this or see people who do, they're probably always tired or running to the store for weed killer and insecticides or pest repellents. My name is James and I'm here to say, don't grow plants. Or how I learned to let nature take care of itself instead of playing God. It happens often, almost routinely, that weeds and pests are inherently evil and must be removed and or destroyed. If they exist, then it means you failed in agriculture and your plants will suffer greatly. One single aphid can spell disaster for your cauliflower. A gopher munching on roots? Break out the gas! This isn't the case at all. You can't blame them. There have been generations of gardeners preaching the same idea. The Palace of Versailles is known for being meticulous and pristine. But remember a thing called the Dust Bowl? Yeah, that happened, and it was awful. This was caused by overworking the soil and not letting nature repopulate the ground. You see, when plants grow, weeds and crops alike, their roots help bind the soil together in multiple ways. First, the roots themselves mechanically hold the soil down so it doesn't blow away in the wind, which we know is a finite resource. We've only got about 60 years left of this stuff, so we don't want to lose more than we need to. This leads me to my first point. Soil. Soil is the matrix that most plants thrive in. They interact with the soil as much as the soil interacts with them. It's a whole ecosystem in any given body of soil. Named the rhizosphere, it's home to millions of bacteria, fungi, and other fun stuff like nematodes and gophers. When we take care of the soil will take care of us. It's a simple fact that is often overlooked. When any organism exists in an ecosystem, it is being placed in competition with every other organism present. You got roots? Roots equal food for consumers. Consumers produce waste products that decomposers can further break down and provide nutrients for more producers. This is how food webs work. Everything is interconnected. Weeds are simply plants out of place. Enough weeds covering an area actually help cool the soil and prevent further germination of other weeds. Think of it this way. Open ground is just begging for chaos, and chaos or entropy increases over time, right? This is a stable configuration. Nature doesn't like empty spaces and will continuously try to fill them until they reach capacity. Removing weeds and gophers also removes free sources of nutrients and aeration, which the soil needs to provide a better environment for the plants growing in it. Not only does the soil need gophers, but the above ground consumers need them too. There are several pests encountered by farmers and gardeners alike that can wreak havoc on our beloved plant friends. Pests can be any organism that competes with or damages the intended crop. This includes weeds and animals, but we're going to focus on insects for this video. Some common pests for our area are aphids, lygus bugs, cutworms, whitefly, and spider mites. Large populations of these insects, without regulation, can cause devastating damage. However, nature always has a plan. For every organism that preys on another organism, there is also another organism preying on it. This is important to consider when using insecticides because one could inadvertently destroy populations of both good and bad insects. You see, for the good insects to have something to eat, you have to feed the food your food. That sounded better in my head. Let me try this again. Predatory but beneficial insects need food to survive, otherwise they starve or leave to find more. If there is no food for the pests to eat, then they will do the same as the beneficials and leave. But usually when pests leave as a result of this imbalance, it's because the pests ate all of our food. It's similar in concept to the food web from earlier. The soil needs nutrients and organic matter to feed the organisms within it, otherwise the system is imbalanced and crashes. For example, cauliflower and other brassicas like kale fall victim to damage from aphids as they give the leaf surface the big suck to extract water and nutrients. Thankfully, as we've mentioned before, nature has a solution in the form of parasitoid wasps. These lovely buzzboys lay eggs within the body of the aphids, which provides nutrients and shelter for the larvae inside. Eventually, the eggs hatch and the nymphs eat their way out, leaving a dried up aphid with a pinhole on their abdomen. Pretty metal, right? Spider mites are a similar issue. They are nearly microscopic at only 0.4 millimeters or 1/60th of an inch and resemble miniature hairy spiders. They typically live on the underside of strawberry leaves but cause considerable damage such as bronzing of the foliage. Most folks would use miticide to control these little arachnids, but that can destroy populations of beneficial mites and potentially other predators too. There are beneficial mites, you say? Absolutely, and they do a great job once their population gets established, but they can't get established if they're dead, and that's the whole point I'm trying to make here. Is anybody even listening? Predatory mites and other beneficial insects act to keep populations of pests
perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
You'll notice that I haven't mentioned a single thing about how to grow plants, and that's because the plants will grow themselves the way nature intended. They don't need us humans to interfere and control every little parameter. They just need us to make sure that there is balance within the soil and in their surroundings. In other words, don't grow plants. Let them grow themselves.